Episode 3 of Silo Season 2 is finally here. The first episode of Silo Season 2 focused entirely on Silo 17, highlighting Jules' desperate fight for survival after her banishment to Clean. The second episode shifted to Silo 18, where Jules' absence triggered significant changes in the community's mood and behavior. Episode 3 bridges these narratives, providing perspectives from both silos and introducing new revelations. One key moment was the introduction of the mysterious man in the vault, who steps outside for the first time. This episode also sheds light on the rebellion's history, offering deeper context to the events that shaped the silos. Let's dive into the details of Episode 3 and explore its ending. And please be aware that there are spoilers ahead. The ending explained. Silo 17's deteriorated state serves as a grim warning of what could happen to Silo 18 if Jules doesn't return. The episode reveals that the man in the vault is called Solo, a name he chose after spending most of his life isolated in the vault. Solo recounts the story of Ron Tucker, a former resident of Silo 17, who, like Jules, refused to clean when sent outside. Instead, Ron wrote lies on the camera before walking over the hill, creating the illusion that he survived. There was also graffiti that was around the silo, which said Ron Tucker lives. Just like how JL was being painted in Silo 18, this showed us that the very rebellion that occurred in Silo 17, because people believed that Ron was alive, could be what's on the horizon for Silo 18. And also Jules realizes that her defiance could incite a similar rebellion in Silo 18, potentially endangering its 10,000 residents. The weight of this responsibility deeply affects her, especially after hearing Solo's story. The episode reveals intriguing details about the interconnected nature of the silos and sheds light on Solo's complex past. The systems in place, referred to as the Order, appear designed to anticipate and manage behaviors that arise across silos, underscoring the eerie mirroring of events within these isolated communities. This episode also discloses that there are 50 silos near Silo 17, with silos 15, 16, and 18 being the closest. Jules and Solo's tense dynamic. Jules needs Solo's help to navigate underwater and craft a suit to return to Silo 18, but Solo initially refuses to leave the vault. His reluctance stems from a strict order given by Russell, the former head of Silo 17, to never allow anyone inside. The turning point comes when Jules notices ominous words scrawled across the wall opposite Solo's small window. "We will get in sooner or later." This graffiti links directly to the fresher corpses outside the vault, hinting at hostile encounters Solo previously had with outsiders. The reason he had severe trust issues and initially refused to leave the vault was because he couldn't trust what Jules might do to him. His experiences with the few individuals he encountered after everyone left the silo were anything but friendly. The fact that the statement was written directly opposite him only served to torment him further and exacerbate his already fragile state of mind. Clearly, he had been alone for a long time. Once Jules realized that his fear and inability to trust her were holding him back, she walked away. It was this action that finally pushed him to leave the vault and chase after her. I believe this was because, despite his fear, he had started to enjoy the interaction they shared. The idea of being alone again was something he likely couldn't bear. Toward the end, he mentioned that he hadn't been that far outside in a long time while standing on the bridge, clearly shocked by what he saw. This suggests that we'll probably see the two of them working together to help Jules return to Silo 18. Solo's role and past. Solo is an invaluable source of knowledge about Silo 17's history. Bernard's earlier conversation with Judge Meadows confirms that the silo had been in its deteriorated state long before she became his shadow. Solo, it was said that he was Russell's shadow back when the silo was united. And Russell was once the head of it, the very person that the sheriff wanted to take in alive, but accidentally killed during the rebellion. We also know that he witnessed the people going outside when they decided to leave. This could be because he actually walked outside with them, and then came back when he realized that things weren't going as the population planned, and then he could have locked himself inside of the vault, or it could be because he was following orders. He could have been viewing it all from inside of the vault, which we know has a screen inside, so he may well have been watching it all unfold from the safety of the vault. He said that it was a nice day on the day that they all went outside, so he may have felt the outside, or again, it could have been because he was viewing it on a screen. Solo's experience and childlike behavior. Solo's actions and demeanor suggest a person deeply affected by prolonged isolation. His childlike behavior might stem from decades without meaningful human interaction, stunting his emotional and social development. The idea that he might have witnessed the rebellion and the subsequent exodus of people through a screen, or even directly from the safety of a vault, adds to his mystique. Solo's memory of it being a nice day when everyone went outside hints at his connection to the outside world, though it remains unclear whether this was through lived experience or observation. His knowledge of birds and the flaws in the cleaning suits suggests he is both intelligent and privy to Silo secrets, possibly making him a target of those sent to Silo 17 to eliminate him. The presence of bodies near the vault is another key detail. Solo's avoidance of addressing them could be rooted in guilt or shame over the violent choices he likely made to protect himself. This aligns with his strict adherence to the order Russell gave him, suggesting a psychological dependency on rules for survival. Bernard and Judge Meadows. Bernard and Judge Meadows share a fascinating dynamic in this season. Judge Meadows seems to have accepted her fate and the idea of leaving the silo, indicating she's ready to die. This was revealed through several moments. Her perspective on the syndrome. She told Paul that the syndrome was a natural human reaction to an unnatural situation, explaining that humans weren't meant to live underground in such conditions. A moment of mourning. She watched a home video of the outside world, showing families enjoying life together, while she sat alone with tears streaming down her face. This reflected her regret for a life she never experienced and underscored her readiness to move on. Loss of trust in Bernard. Meadows believed Bernard was someone she could rely on, but she discovered he had been lying to her repeatedly. When she asked him if Jules wanted to go outside, he consistently lied and said she did. Meadows also advised Bernard to deviate from the prescribed orders, suggesting he take a different approach when someone refuses to clean and rebellion seems imminent. However, Bernard ignored her advice, choosing instead to use force and blame the people in Mechanical, a decision likely to backfire, especially since Jules originated from Mechanical, the most hostile group. Meadows had a suit measured for herself to go outside, signaling her acceptance of death if it's her fate. However, it feels like Bernard is setting her up for failure. As the one in charge of the suit and tape, Bernard might ensure the suit malfunctions or use faulty tape, causing her to die before she crosses the hill. Although he promised to turn off the cafeteria screen to keep her departure discreet, Bernard's deceitful nature suggests he could exploit her death to manipulate the silo's residents. He might portray Meadows' failure as evidence that Jules was an exception, discouraging others from believing they can survive outside. Rebellion in Mechanical. This strategy won't quell the dissent in Mechanical. They are likely to persist in believing that Juliet lives, fueled by their collective anger and grief, especially after Cooper's death. Reggie's brutal killing of Cooper hints at a deeper conspiracy or cover-up, which may only unite Mechanical further in rebellion. Pete is changed. Pete was always a character who strictly adhered to the rules of the silo, to the point where Jules once suspected he had betrayed her mother when she was a flamekeeper. However, it was later revealed that he hadn't. With Jules being mistreated in the silo and ultimately forced to go out to clean, just as their relationship was beginning to heal, Pete now feels a deep sense of purposelessness. He's grappling with the realization that he may have wasted much of his life supporting a silo that neither values nor cares for its inhabitants, especially amid the escalating tensions and turmoil. The Code Silo Orange and False Hope. The declaration of a Code Silo Orange aimed to manipulate the citizens into believing their reproductive implants were being removed, as seen previously with Allison in Season 1. This deceptive lottery was announced to instill hope amidst unrest, but it was a facade, intended to calm hostilities rather than offer genuine solutions. Pete's decision to defy the system and remove Phoebe's implant signals his complete loss of faith in the silo's leadership. His action is a quiet rebellion and marks him as a likely ally for the growing dissent within the silo. Paul's changing perspective. Another significant development was Paul's evolving perspective. Throughout the episode, Paul displayed growing skepticism about Sim's narrative regarding the events leading to Jules being sent outside to clean. His doubts were validated when a fifth raider, Jen, someone Paul was friendly with, failed to back up the other four raiders' version of the story. Paul's exposure to the book passed down by various Flamekeepers in Season 1 planted the seeds of doubt, and they have continued to grow. Learning about Cooper's death and witnessing the brute force used against the people of Mechanical further fueled his disillusionment. Judge Meadows' comment about their current way of life being unnatural and potentially linked to the syndrome added another layer to Paul's internal conflict. These factors suggest that Paul may follow in the footsteps of the sheriff from Silo 17 and align with the rebellion when the time comes. Episode Review. This episode was arguably the best of the season so far. It successfully balanced the narratives within Silo 17 and Silo 18, making the two stories feel interconnected and well-developed. In terms of performances, Solo stood out. Despite most of his scenes being limited to just his eyes and voice, the fear and mistrust he conveyed were palpable. His portrayal added depth to the episode. Meanwhile, the dynamic between Meadows and Bernard continues to intrigue. There's an underlying tension in their relationship that hints at an inevitable betrayal, despite Bernard's outward appearance of loyalty. The growing mistrust in Bernard and the leadership of the silo is spreading rapidly throughout Silo 18. Even characters like Shirley and Knox put aside their differences after Cooper's death, uniting against a common enemy. With Shirley, Paul, Meadows, and Pete all turning against the system, representatives from various walks of life are questioning the silo's leadership. This shift in allegiance signals that chaos and death are on the horizon. As tensions rise and alliances form, the question remains, will Jules make it back to Silo 18 in time to prevent its collapse? With the next episode focusing on her preparation for the journey, the clock is ticking for Silo 18, and the stakes couldn't be higher.